So I got 2 books signed. This is John's Summer Movies book, John Malahai, and this is John's recent Rewinding the 80s book. I'm actually surprised at this, because there's like a visual, there's a time delay, and when I'm holding up that's cool. Sorry, say that again, but with more feeling.
This is what I'm accustomed to. Bucky's buck teeth. On a cold morning. And you better get a picture of that bird over there because it's too cute. Right here. Hi, birdie. Hi, birdie.
This is too much. This is too big. Now, I love fat pussy. I love eating at... I'm just a big...
You've entered the parking lot.
I'm a big pussy hog. Friends with Mikey.
Oh yeah, for sure. I take that.
The personas.
Yes.
What? A cat can't have a persona.
I'm not a cat.
I recently went on a road trip to North Carolina, stopping in Asheville, then to Atlanta, Georgia, then to around the Louisville area in Kentucky, and this is sort of an overarching combination travelogue. Here, like, here's all the footage of all the time lapses and such that I shot along the trip, footage that I shot with my friends John Malahai, arguably more of an acquaintance than a friend. DJ Martinez, and of course also Bree.
Oh my god. Look at them. Emotional support capybaras. Just a little basket.
These minor things, but the main focus being the stuff that I'm going to be talking about right now, all the things that I picked up along the way. In Asheville, North Carolina, we stopped at OrbitDVD. And one of the first things that hit my eye, for a number of reasons, knowing the film, the people in the film. I actually forgot that Maria Bamford was in this film, which is something that's really cool, among a cadre of other talented people. This movie was directed by Vera Drew. I am having trouble opening this, and I'm really worried about damaging the VHS. This is a relatively more recent release, and it was put out by, I believe, by Altered Innocence and Altered Home Video. Yep, I got. Sometimes I worry I'm not, because I'll just say things wrong occasionally. I have a pretty good track record on not being wrong, but you might be saying, why get a VHS tape? You might also be even wondering why a VHS tape was put out of this movie. I think it came out last year. I could be wrong on that end. Also, I love this. Bro, this movie made me trans. And you know that's real because I said bro in front of it. That's Joe Rogan. A heartfelt love letter to the power of comic book characters to save real lives. And I'm pretty sure that's a real quote from Grant Morrison. The reason I felt compelled to get this on VHS tape is because the VHS tape is purple. Just look at that. And I've heard amazing things about the movie. Really excited to finally be able to watch this at home, and especially excited to watch it on a purple VHS tape. I just think that's fantastic. I also, at some point, will note the shirt that I'm wearing, which will play into things. But next up, another thing that I really darted to getting, although this was behind the counter. This is I'm actually gonna just the little I'm forgetting. I think this is an OBI slip, but I could be wrong. But the little paper kind of informational card, regional information. This is a Hammer restoration. This is a Hammer release in 4K Blu-ray, presented in Dolby Vision, of a 1957 film. And I mean, you can see the name of the film, but I'll say it because I should have said it already. This is The Curse of Frankenstein, and it's a really, I keep saying, it's a very daunting release. It's one of the most all-out releases I've seen. I incorrectly stated when I was in Atlanta that this release was something like 11 discs. And also, the sheer art of just, look at this fold out, just the flowing art. This is cool. Of course, Christopher Lee as the monster, Peter Cushing as Baron von Frankenstein, some guy, and then we have the discs. Can't get them all on camera because there's so many. And contrary to Jerf's consensus, there are only 6 discs in this release. But I think that's still an incredible amount of what's on those. Well, we have 4K and then Blu-ray presentation, so 2 discs on each end for each of the things that I'm about to say. So 2 discs, 2 discs of presentations of the film in widescreen, the UK theatrical version, and then also on that same disc, full screen, which is listed as the as filmed version, and I'm not even attempting to say, I'm not 166. I don't know how to. I don't like saying technical. That's someone else's thing. I'm not doing that. I'm going nowhere near that. Then, the second disc that has 2 discs in in the second disc that has 2 discs in this out of 6 discs, motherfucker! They also have the US theatrical version presented in widescreen in both 4K UHD and also Blu-ray. Then, on the last 2 things, you'll find special features. How the fuck can I not say words? There's also a really interesting thing called the Books of Frankenstein, Volume 1. A cinema sensation, making it worldwide. I believe this is a bunch of writing related to the film and just... I love when releases really go all out and just have layers upon cool shit. Then we have The Curse of Frankenstein, the horror classic, as a graphic novel, and a little pamphlet. Love the art. This might be edited and reformatted. I'm guessing this was published originally in some kind... Oh yeah, that's what this was originally published as. It's really interesting. Great stuff all around. Then we have these, I believe, lobby cards. 8 lobby cards. Really well done art. And on top of that, but before we get to that, lovely art. This is a great... This could be a cover, and I mean, this is a cover for the Warner Archive 4K release, which also looks outstanding, but just doesn't have that little extra oomph. This is a really... I'm just kind of fascinated by Christopher Lee playing Frankenstein's monster, and the more I look at the makeup of it, I've already seen this film, but I kind of got the impression that the more I sit with it and the more I re-examine it, the more I'll kind of get the impact of it, because it really was a very monumental film for Hammer. This is just, speaking of Christopher Lee as Frankenstein's monster, that's just a fantastic look. Frankenstein Shash. I think this might... What is this? Is this ranch? What is this? I don't think so. I lost. But these are great foreign posters of this movie. Great shadow. Just fantastic stuff. And then, a while ago, I got a Studio Canal 4K giant box set of a film called The Third Man by Carol Reed from 1949, starring Joseph Cotten and, of course, Orson Welles and Aldi Valle, although I believe she's just credited as Valley in the Valli in the film. But I had this kind of big box set release. There was a pop-up of a Ferris wheel. Had that release. I'm forgetting the exact chronology, but I also went to a screening of that film, a 4K screening of the film, in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Plaza Theatre with John and with DJ. And from there, afterwards, it was such a good time that after sitting on the thought and reflecting on it, I decided to give as a gift to DJ my copy of The Third Man. And since he's really gotten into collecting Studio Canal releases, so much so that I even got him two similarly sized 4K Studio Canal releases that were put out. Where did I? Oh, there it is. So, while I was at Orbit, I got another copy of The Third Man, but a much more reasonably sized box set, if I'm being completely honest, at least for my taste. But while I was there, I also got the films put out on 4K recently by Studio Canal of Dark Knight. Nope. Dead of Night. This is getting embarrassing. Dead of Night. And also, I'm actually... What was the one that I... The Man in a White Suit, which has Alec Guinness. And I feel like I keep wanting to say Our Man in Havana, because I recently watched that Carol Reed film with Alec Guinness. I don't think there's a Studio Canal 4K release of that film, but this is a really... They've done outstanding stuff, Studio Canal, and I know I thought the over-the-top, overblown version of The Third Man box set, I think I might have thought that was like the greatest release I'd ever seen. But this is more practically, I think, one of the greatest releases I've ever seen. Not to be over dramatic again, but I am a big fan. And I mean, this very practically speaking, this literally might be, I think, looking at it now and seeing what it is, my favorite release of all time of a movie, of a singular movie. Actually, this is not 4K. This is a Blu-ray, which I'm not going to complain, because it's a 4K restoration. So, we have Blu-ray disc, 2 DVDs, and then a soundtrack CD. That is a really great combination, especially having all of the music. I just love that. That's fantastic, especially with some snippets of dialogue. I love to see that. But great little art on the last scene of the movie. Look at that shot. Some art cards. Scooby-Doo. Orson Welles as Harry Lime. Volley and Joseph Cotten. Orson Welles as Harry Lime with a gun, a revolver. Joseph Cotten and Orson Welles. And those are the cards. Well, I don't know if that's the right word, but we'll figure that out later. This is, I'm assuming, a poster for the 4K restoration. I could be wrong. No, it's just yep, stunning new 4K restoration. Love that image of Orson Welles on the cover. And to be honest, it is Joseph Cotten, Aldi Valley, Trevor Howard, and Orson Welles. It's not like, you know, it's an and credit, to be quite honest. But sometimes an and credit is, you know, you can really do a lot of damage with one of those. This is The Third Man, little booklet, presumably essays on the film. It's called Mixing Fact with Fiction. Love seeing things of that nature. Love seeing releases for movies of this nature, and just generally also, not really to the extent of DJ, but I am quite the fan of what Studio Canal does with their releases. Next up, I'm not going to be opening these because I really don't want to deal with the forgetting these either might be J cards or OBI. The little paper slip on the outside of some of these movies, although these do have a sticker on the back side, or at least one of them does. But here are two 4K releases from Indicator. The Shiver of the Vampires, and this is directed by Roland. I was asking, I'm forgetting the person's name, but there was some very helpful people that were working there. I asked for some recommendations on Weird. They pointed me towards Jean Rollin. I was having trouble hearing. To where the first time they said Jean Rollin, I thought they were saying a different name. And I said, no, I've never heard of that person. Then we go over, they take one of the films out, and I'm just like, oh, Jean Rollin? But this is the first film by that director that I'm adding to my collection. I know nothing about this person. I'm going to read a little bit of the new 4K HDR restoration of the 1971 surrealist gold classic directed by master of the fantastique, Jean Rollin. No idea what that quite means, but I'm interested, somewhat interested, marginally interested in finding out. Next up, we have a Mike Nichols movie that I haven't seen yet, and this is called Carnal Knowledge, and for some reason Art Garfunkel's in this. He's credited as Arthur Garfunkel. Mike Nichols, Jack Nicholson, Candice Bergen, Arthur Garfunkel, Anne Margaret, and Jules Pfeiffer. And so this is a fascinating movie from 1971 as well. Two 1971 movies. That sort of wasn't doing that intentionally. Much because if you read the backs of A World of Sex and Violence, everybody needs to be loved sometimes. Like, it's a terrible combination. But this has one of the best presentations of this movie that I've seen. I'm not fully certain if the recent Criterion release was presented in Dolby Vision, but also the recent Criterion release just didn't, I don't know, it doesn't have that oomph that this presentation does.
You can go at your own peril, sir.
I know that it is.
Easy. A little mine, so I felt compelled to get this instead of just any release. And next up, 4K, second site release, and they didn't even think, they weren't sure if they had any more of these. This is The Nice Guys, Shane Black. I'm so happy. I only had this on DVD. And this is really, they put a lot of time and effort into this one. A lot of really good essays included in a 150 hardback book. I can't talk, but it's loaded with special features, and it's something that I've really been waiting to pick up. So it was really nice to pick it up at the store Orbit. Now, I'm gonna rapid fire through the rest of these in another video even, because that angle with the mirror and the light is probably getting annoying even if this is edited down to 10 minutes.
Sunday, so it was like really crowded.
Although I think they do Invisible for the Naked Gun movie.
To get footage of it getting brought out. They had to get both from the back, and it was in such...
Brand new.
I think there might have been a do not sell sticker on both of them. There was some kind of sticker, like, there was some conversation about, like, should we just leave the thing on? No. Do you see the moon? Potato? Scissor. You saw the moon. Yeah, right. Säg ett samling av Murray. Åh, hurry. What's that? Her memory.
So, while in Atlanta, I went to 2 half-price books, which I guess if you're considering, half, it's full-price book if I went to 2. While I was at the first half-price books, I picked up a VHS tape of The Red Pony, starring Robert Mitchum and Myrna Loy. It's also a John Steinbeck adaptation. I don't really know anything about it other than those series of facts, and also Lewis Milestone directed it. It would also not entirely surprise me if I've potentially seen this before, but I don't think I have. Also, while at that first half-price books, I picked up a Blu-ray of The Aviator. Not only did I have this on DVD, I had 2 copies of this on DVD for a very long while. So it's probably a good idea to get 1 Blu-ray copy used at some point. Or at least it might make practical sense. Who's to say, really? Following that, I went to another half-price books. Was immediately drawn to something that I'm gonna present at the end. First up is a movie that I've massive kind of blank in terms of missing gap for some of these people involved, mostly in regards to Fred Astaire, but this is Bing Crosby and Fred Astaire in Holiday Inn, Irving Berlin's Holiday Inn. Following that, we have a digipack, I believe. Digibook, because there's pages in the middle. This is Sidney Pollack's 1985 movie Out of Africa, starring Robert Redford, who recently passed, R.I.P., and Meryl Streep. Next up, Too Late Blues, John Cassavetes' second feature, sophomoric effort. See, what's great about this is that Bobby Darin's in it. Bobby Darin's the lead actor in it. And Bobby Darin wasn't necessarily a good or bad actor, but it's really fascinating to think of him being the lead in a John Cassavetes movie. Here's Bobby Darin getting slapped in the face. Great mirror shot, too. Oh yeah, I'm skipping something. So, with the books getting signed... That was not what I thought it was. I also extended some gifts to DJ.
One. No, I'm going to feel city wish. Geld Laben Chester of Nakmasur. Geld Urkuts in Nakmasur. Mother of Narkuts last night weekend.
Oh, the awesome bag you gave
Yes.
us? Yeah, it's so cool. It was like a cinematic.
And the
bag.
merchandise.
And the stuff in the bag was also very awesome.
Okay, and
I love the boxes.
okay.
Studio Canal, amazing. The Noirs. we're
Also,
gonna try to
I
get some of those.
extended a
I'm
gift
happy
to
to
John. I got another thing from OrbitDVD, the Volume 1 of House of Psychotic Women on Blu-ray. 4 films, including Identikit? I'm forgetting. But a film with Elizabeth Taylor in the lead. Also, 2 films, I think that might have been one of them, but I'm forgetting. But 2 films in that set were shot by Vittorio Storaro, who shot Apocalypse Now most famously. And several Woody Allen movies more infamously.
That was empty. With the exchange of things, sometime later in the day, I was given a shirt by John, a TCM shirt, which I'm wearing now. I hope that was visible enough because it's kind of hard to stand on my tippy toes where I am currently. So after going to that half-price books in Atlanta, we headed out. This is a pretty bad travelogue. Let the visuals guide you beyond where your mind is linearly taking you. Because what the fuck am I even saying most of the time? We stopped at a McKAY's in Chattanooga, Tennessee, based on the recommendation of John Malachi, and while I was there, I picked up a number of things, including a new Daredevil for my collection, which is from a Toybiz release from 1997, Spider-Man Web 4 series. It's kind of a nonsense tank attack Daredevil. Like, what the hell even is that? Although, if you look, the tank kind of has little embellishments of purple on it, so big fan of that. But this is real standard boilerplate, 97, just 90s, but specifically I believe it's like a 97 model from Toybiz for a Daredevil figure, which includes those weird kind of like bolts of articulation. I don't know how else to describe it, but it's one of the more awkward kind of 90s action figures out there, but I've always kind of been endeared to it. So I was really happy to add this to my collection. No. Oh no, Joe. We'll fix that later. Actually, that's probably fine enough. Shit. But also, while at McKAY's, I picked up a DVD compilation of Fred Astaire movies for films. Fred Astaire, Song and Dance Man, mostly for one movie, although I might watch another, though I do know there's a much better release of that. I believe it's from Indicator, it might be from Radiance, don't fully recall, on Blu-ray, and that movie is called You'll Never Get Rich, starring Rita Hayworth alongside Fred Astaire. She was actually quite a dancer, Rita Hayworth. A lot of people don't know that about Rita Hayworth, that she actually could quite well dance often. That made sense as a sentence. Don't you agree? Don't you agree? Following that, we have The Notorious Landlady, Jack Lemmon, Kim Novak, Fred Astaire. Kind of an odd inclusion considering it's from 1962, but it's sort of, none of this collection really makes sense. I mean, two of them, I can understand pairing them together, and that would be You'll Never Get Rich from 1941 with Second Chorus from 1940, which features Fred Astaire, Paulette Goddard, Burgess Meredith, but it also features one of the few film performances of Artie Shaw, who I've kind of been fascinated watching the times that he would show up in films, largely from watching the somewhat recent Film Movement Classics release of a 80s documentary called Artie Shaw, Time Is All You've Got. So that's why I bought this entirely to watch Artie Shaw in Second Chorus. Following that, we have Royal Wedding, starring Jane Powell and Peter Lawford, alongside Fred Astaire from 1951. Interesting mix of directors: Sidney Lanford, You'll Never Get Rich, the Notorious Landlady, Richard Quine, Second Chorus, H.C. Potter, and Royal Wedding, Stanley Donen. You know what's great about Stanley Donen? He directed the original version of Bedazzled. Then we have Captain Newman, M.D., with Gregory Peck, Tony Curtis, Angie Dickinson, and Bobby Darin. I saw another Bobby Darin movie, and I said I just had to get more Bobby Darin. And this time on DVD, because I don't think this movie's that necessarily great. It's a David Miller movie. I believe he directed quite a few Doris Day features. Not to say that those movies are bad. But rapid firing. There's one thing that I'm not going to show, because I got something that I didn't mean to get, but you might see what I have in this bag. You might see what I have in this bag on Films by Color in a far, somewhat, maybe even next year, but you might see it on that channel. If you're curious, you're not, no one is, nor am I. But you know what's even less curious? That's right, John Wayne. And how did John Wayne die? Well, he died because someone nuked him. Someone nuked the Duke. And when did someone nuke the Duke? Well, someone nuked the Duke over an extended production from hell on a film called The Conqueror. Now, who would want to make The Conqueror? Well, no one really, except for one man. Now, that man was named Howard Hughes. Kino Lorber release, Blu-ray, slipcover. This is a John Woo movie. This is two John Woo movies. Redcliffe, Part 1 and 2. Always been a big fan of Lou Boo. No, Lou Bay. Sorry, what did I even? I've never liked Lou Boo. You can write that down. Write that down. No one's writing that down. Also, in Atlanta, I stopped at a place called Antiques on the Square. I think I'm forgetting what it was. But I also went to a record store inside of the place. I think it was like Sweet Melissa's Records, something like that. And I picked up the Looking for Mr. Goodbar soundtrack on vinyl, which I'm really excited for the mix of music, but mostly to have just to have the soundtrack album. I also really just love singing Backstabbers by the OJs. I'm just a big fan of Philly Soul, and they were really one of the best groups, and that album is really one of the best Philly Soul albums out there. Following that, we have Slightly Aladdin by Roland Kirk, really one of the most interesting and talented jazz musicians of all time, forever, both past, present, future. Just the scope of his talent, the scope of his personality, blind musician, he's not like he's such an inspiration because he's blind. No, it's because he's blind and he's playing 3 instruments at once. Like, it's one of the most fascinating, just creativity is just so fascinating, and he was
So creative. That's the terrible. Dig its music. Then we have Hit the Deck. I got this from A Second in Charles, which I don't think, did I differentiate when I got things from Second in Charles? Because I don't, what did I get at Second in Charles? We'll live. Wait, I don't think I got, I just got this at Second in Charles, I'm sorry. This is the soundtrack album for Hit the Deck, and it has such a really interesting mix of people in the cast, but the people that I'm kind of most interested in listening to are Jane Powell, Debbie Reynolds, and most specifically Ann Miller, who is wearing a purple dress on the cover, and I was sort of just like, Ann Miller in purple? We gotta buy that. Because I recently watched Mulholland Drive and was not reminded that she was in it, but just really delighted by seeing that performance on the big screen at a drive-in, the Mulholland Drive-In, which just did a fascinating time with their Wild World of David Lynch. And I'm assuming do that with their previous things and previous events in that regard. But that's not about, this isn't about that.
Well, not weird, but it's, I love when there's like a really like eclectic mix of figures. I'm impartial.
We also have an astronaut, but I don't think. Sure.
And I guess all of these. Would she go crazy if you didn't? That's good. Are you ready for total entertainment? Everything's bigger in Texas, you know it is. But we're not in Texas.
We're not in Texas. It kind of feels like Texas sometimes. But not in Texas.
I mean, like, it's more the context of being friends with Mikey.
Oh yeah, for sure. I take that
The
into
personas.
consideration. Yes.
What? A cat?
I'm happy to hear that. Have you watched Trapped?
No, we haven't watched Trapped.
You should watch Trapped after having seen Lloyd Bridges in Airplane, because he's the antagonist, but he becomes like the secondary antagonist of the movie. It's not a great Richard Fleischer noir, but it's a very spirited Richard Fleischer noir, insofar as it was made at, I think, Eagle Lion Studios, and it wasn't made at RKO, which is a rarity in terms of his output. But have you seen Dead at Night already, or?
Yes.
Okay,
That's,
yes.
That's why
Okay.
I wanted to get that.
That makes
fix.
sense.
I loved it. It was really good.
And now you get to watch it.
Yes.
Well, now you get to watch it and own it at the same time. So
Okay, and see the extra bonus features on that.
there's something about the way that the light is behind. It's got a good. I can show you what it looks like at the end, but it like exists.
Like even compared to the one I have, like there's something about the face that's just a little bit off.
I mean,
Not bad. Like she's very soft.
I love.
I know. Oh, she's so fucking precious, and like.
I mean, this face is like.
What's funny is that apparently.
This is the face that looks. This face is fine. It's
She has
human.
no nose. That's the thing.
Okay, it's.
But apparently the creator like doesn't dislike Anya, but like kind of gets tired of like drawing her because.
Okay.
But it's interesting because like he spent like years trying to kind of
Oh,
go
wait.
mainstream with his other stuff, and then Spy Family is kind of the unintended like success. But I feel like you get that a lot with a lot of.
Where's
creators.
Mikey, you bastard?
Emotional support Captain Barras.
I